Alright, welcome back to my Traveler campaign. Started out as a solo scout campaign using some resources I found, specifically Zozers. It's been a few weeks since I've posted this, mainly because the last episode kind of threw me for a loop. But first off, let's kind of summarize where we're at. And I will show you quickly a resource I'm kind of dabbling with on the side. I've got kind of on the old blog spot here. I've been posting narration. I think the link is on my YouTube site also, which can, you can follow along to see what's going on along with listening to the videos where I actually try and generate what happens. That's pretty much, I generate what happens, then I think about it, and then I try and type out a kind of a brief narration. I'm not really trying to write a book or anything. It just kind of centers my thoughts. So our status is the ISS Intrepid has arrived here at Qatari. They're calling it the Qatari system. And their initial survey, they only found one planet in the habitable zone. You can look at the previous videos and the narration here on the website to get the background if you're not, if you're new to this. Actually, the narrations would be a good place to go. And they found only one habitable world. And as they approached it, there was an inexplicable object, some kind of cube giving off gravimetric force, etc. So they parked in orbit around it, around the planet, kept their distance from the cube, but kept it on their sensors, and then did a orbital-based scan of the planet. I used the World Builder resource from Digest. I think it was written for previous Traveler version. And I use that to really get a lot of cool details about the planet, and I think I posted that too. Here it is, Planet Survey. So there's a lot of details there. So let's see if I click on it. I think, yeah, these are the results of going through the World Builder system from Digest. It's all there if you want to circle back and look at that. But after that was done, the cube didn't do anything while they were in orbit. So the captain had a choice. Land on the planet, do a survey with the unknown cube still in orbit, or approach the cube, or go to the next survey or return to base and say, oh, look what we found, but we don't have any details. Well, it seemed like the common sense answer was to approach the cube, and they did. They sent a drone first. There are only 3 drones now because of the bad maintenance done. And the cube responded to the drone by opening a portal sized for the drone, thinking it was life forms to, get on the ship. It didn't put up shields, it didn't blow it out of the sky, so they took that as a good sign. So the captain left a buoy, streaming all their details to it, where they were, and then with the ship they approached the cube. The idea being the buoy would, message buoy would shoot back to the perimeter of the system and be able to communicate with anybody who jumped in later in case something bad happened to them. So they approached the cube. Again, the cube actually opened an entry point that was large enough for humans to come through, or size to the ship and the airlock on it. So they closed to it, and the captain and the astrogator and the researcher, and that's pretty much Carol is the captain, Bob is the astrogator, Mary is the researcher, suited up and proceeded to enter the cube, leaving the engineer Sonny behind to monitor things, constant stream. So they went through a tunnel, and then they came out into a large space opening, and it looked like, I don't know how to describe it, all sorts of plants and animal life that appeared to be in stasis, were in enclosures that you know, kind of clear view they could see. So basically, that whole center area was filled with specimens, plants, animals. They were in the process of scanning these to, you know, kind of see if it corresponds to what they found on the planet on the survey, or if they do go down. But then that's when through my rolls I answered the question, is the ship manned? And the answer was yes. Oops, that changes things. So you'll see in the narration, Bob picks them up on the neural scanner approaching. Did a little rolling about what kind of aliens they are, but so we have a first contact. And that's what threw me for a loop. I didn't know. I had to think about where I wanted to go with this. I could go small. At first I thought the cube was just going to be some relic from the past, or I was thinking of that, but you know, when it manned, then I asked myself the question, well, maybe I can say these are caretakers, but it still implies an alien race behind them. So basically, I'm faced with the decision of stay small, go big, and my definition of go big is, okay, build out an entire alien empire connected to this cube in some way. And I have decided to, you know, just exercise more stuff to go ahead and go big. So with that in mind, what I've decided to do is, well, I'm going to ask some questions about the moon. You remember, it's a bunch of planetoids, or broken up, and my only question about the moon was it always like that? Was it a cosmic, I don't know what you'd call it, solar disaster, you know, hit by an asteroid or whatever in the past, or could it have been the result of a war? So I got to ask that question. And then these aliens that are approaching, why are they there? The two answers I could think of is maybe repopulating after a war, or prepping for colonization. So those are things I'm potentially going to roll on, answer those questions. But the bigger question now is I've got to build out an alien empire. And to do that, and I apologize, one of my listeners here has mentioned, if you look at the comments going way back, I guess there's Traveler 4 had a cool resource called Pocket Empires here. So I'm going to look at this. I did actually skim through this, and I'm going to use it. Pocket Empires is kind of written, if I can explain it, it's set during the early Imperium, the Silea period, Milieu Zero they call it. And what you're simulating is you're a corporation family, and you're going to go out and, you know, just coming out of the long night, and there's some pocket empires out there, and you try and co-opt them. And it's actually a game of itself, in the sense that 2 or 3 or 4 other player characters, maybe with a referee, they go out and they form their pocket empires, however they get them, and then this has got big picture rules for determining the economics of your empire, determining development. Each turn, I think, is a year, so you go through this and you control your empire. Then you talk about expanding the empire, bringing people in, and then as you bump into other empires or the nascent Imperium, you may go to war with them. And then, so there's that macro view of your empire. Players are playing that out. And then you can use that as a vehicle for adventure, making player characters, adventures, etc. So I'm not going to use it kind of that way as much as I'm going to use this to generate information about the alien empire here. And I've kind of got a step through here I'm going to do. And I'm going to cover that here in a second. The other resource, I found this. This is actually written for Cephas, the open source, or whatever they call it, the Traveler implementation. Yeah, it uses Mongoose. And this kind of gives you, it's not too long, it's 34 pages. But it gives you a way to build out your alien species. Now, yes, the Empire could have more than one species, just like the Imperium does. But come in at some time, well, I don't have to worry about homeworld. Well, I do. We'll talk about that. But then you get into stuff, the descriptions, genders, respiration, size. I mean, I've got some basic stuff. They're big, they're tall. Probably put them on a high grav planet. Um, how they move, their abilities compared to humans, I guess. Natural armor, natural weaponry, senses. I'm not going to jump into this right away, but if I want to drive through this once to see what kind of species I end up with. So that's another one I picked up. I think I picked it up on Drive-Through RPG. It's not too expensive. It's not very long, but I did want something to give me more details than what I got in the last one of ridges on the forehead or whatever, ridges on the head and a big mouth. That's kind of what I got out of Starforged. Can't really go too far with that, but at least they were bipedal, however you pronounce that word. Starforged gave me that, and they're big, and they've got big mouths. Uh, I'm not even going to play with that. So I'm going to leverage this here on the tail end, but just going back to Pocket Empires, I've been through the rules some, and you notice here they talk about creating the corporation family that's now going to go out and try and co-opt a pocket empire out there and build their own empire to rival the Selaeans who are building out the Imperium. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but there's points I can use in here. This tapestry of stars. We're going to see I can do a lot of things in this. Let me pull up my notes here. Yeah, under the tapestry of stars, I can first thing I have to determine is how many worlds are in the Empire. Now they give you choices. You could do a 2d6, or if you want to make it smaller, 1d6. And they say worlds, but I view it as systems, okay? So I don't think, this system will not be, I'll have to fight with that. Let me see how the Empire fights out. I mean, because this could have been a previous system and there was a war and they're trying to repopulate. Or it could be a fringe system they're just now trying to colonize and we've just run into them. So I haven't played that detail out yet, but I'm looking at these, so I could build it out here. But one of the things you have to do is you have to figure out what's their home world. So for me to be able to pull that off, I am now going to have to revisit World and Universe. This is the main Mongoose rules, and I'm going to have to generate primary worlds for a lot of these here. And then depending on what characteristics generate, pick a home world, and then determine other worlds that are part of the Empire. Now, of course, our intrepid crew don't know any of this, but I need to know this for backstory. And being a wargamer, kind of like this idea of building out this empire, and this now becomes a vehicle also. I did want to go into naval campaigns too, that we potentially get corvettes, etc. So we'll see where that goes, but I've got to map out all of these systems, and unlike these that I've already mapped out, well, I may have to, I did basic here, so I may have to come back to these two at least, and this one. Yeah, all neighboring stars, and potentially now do population, government, rival, the whole procedure here. And then kind of take that info, pick a home world, pick the remaining systems worlds that are in the Empire, and from that potentially build out the Empire characteristics. And Pocket Empire is good. It does have both. It adds to the world and the Empire. Sorry about this. This is the families. I don't want. There we go. This is it. So they start with the Empire first, but they calculate new things. So like your individual worlds will have these characteristics: self-determination, how popular the ruler is, and then the Pocket Empire is size, military power, economic power, prestige. These are all new characteristics, and you can go through here, and there's charts and tables at the back. And I think I'll start with the, and I'm still wrestling with this. You start with a world character. You go world by world that you decide is in the empire, and you calculate progression, planning, advancement, growth, militancy, unity, tolerance, and then you can do a back world history, and you end up with, not a UWP, but a world character kind of thing. And then from those world characters, you can get a sense of what the empire's like, although it's driven by the home planet. And then you get the empire factors, how big it is, there's a way to calculate the military power from the economic GWP, etc., and then the prestige. And so a lot of things can affect, kind of give the big picture on what the attitude of these NPC aliens coming up to them are going to be like, although they seem a bit approachable in that they didn't shoot anything out of the sky and they let them on their cube. So I'll be working through that. And then after I do that, Tapestry of Stars, military, yeah, I got all that. World history. Have to calculate their base economics. If I do this campaign runs longer, yeah, I guess I'll do the yearly turns, planetary development, controlling the empire. And then they do have a blurb in here about alien pocket empires. And they talk about steps for that, determine nature of inhabitants, do the cultural profile 3, that's chapter 3, which is all that stuff I talked about, Tapestry of Stars. Maybe some quirks, they've got some stuff in there. And then they do briefly talk about first contact, how you would handle a first contact. And you could role play it, which I may do, and leverage, some NPC reaction tables and the contents of what I know about the Empire. So basically, I've got all that front work to do now before I can, play out what's going to happen on the cube for our friends here. But the interesting thing, it just realized, and I haven't explored this, but potentially finding this new empire may explain why, if you remember from previous sessions, I think one of the events at the starport or the scout base was that a free trader was impounded and the crew was impounded. So maybe people are already trading with this empire, and the Imperium doesn't know this, or now they've picked up on it and they're trying to impound them to get info. And potentially, her friend who had retired, you remember before they were leaving the system, I forgot his name, I'll look it up later, but the two on their own scout that they were given, dropping buoys at the time, but we know from his backstory now he's contract out and works for Naval Intelligence or Imperium Intelligence, who knows. Maybe that's why they're there, because, the regular Imperium, Naval Intelligence, Scout Intelligence, who knows, has caught wind of this empire here on the edge. And they're positioning resources to get info. So I'd look at, or I'd consider after this first contact, that maybe this scout, employed by the intelligence community, actually jumped after our Intrepid and is lurking on the system edge just to keep an eye on things. Possibly. We'll see. It all just depends on where that first contact goes. So, yeah, I never expected this campaign to spin out of control. I thought I'd just be hopping around planets, doing the Zoser thing, exploring the planets. That's nice, but now I have to build a mini empire out here of aliens. So, that is where we're at. So my intent on the next recording will be, I have to go around now and generate details about a bunch of these stars and primary planets, and then out of that information identify a homeworld, and then from that determine how big the empire is, and then from that generate the characteristics we saw here. And then once I've got that done, then I will return to our friends here on the cube. Just check on my notes here. Yeah. turn to my friends on the cube and see how the first contact goes. Although and remember I have those two other questions that I'll determine when I address. What's the story with the moon? Natural, cosmic, or out of war? And why are these aliens here? Are they repopulating after a war? Or are they doing colonization? So, wow, this took 20 minutes and I didn't make anything done here. So, but yeah, that's where I'm going. Any comments? Questions are appreciated. Like, subscribe if you want to keep up, and pop over to the blog site to look at the narration up to now. And otherwise, I will see you at the next recording where I'll do some primary world generation just to show it, but then I won't do all of them in the recording, and then we'll come back and decide on the homeworld and the size of the empire, and then we'll go from there. So, thanks for listening, and catch you at the next one.